Have you ever wondered how much of what you say truly matters? How often do we speak words that later make us regret? Have you thought about the things you've shared with someone, only to wish you hadn't? Imagine this. You tell a friend about your dream or a plan you've been working on, and suddenly, it doesn't feel as exciting or achievable anymore. Why does this happen? Could it be that silence holds more power than we realize? In our daily lives, we often feel the urge to share everything. Our thoughts, plans, and even our doubts. But what if choosing silence in certain situations could lead to more peace, focus, and wisdom? In this video, we're diving deep into the world of silence and exploring 5 powerful things you should never speak of to anyone. These lessons, deeply rooted in the wisdom of Buddhism, can transform the way you live, think, and connect with others. Welcome to Wisdom Woven. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% subscribes. Why is that? If you're enjoying these insights and want to see more, please like this video, drop your thoughts in the comments, share it with someone who might need it, and most importantly, hit the subscribe button. Your support means everything to us as we bring you life-changing wisdom and guidance. In Buddhism, the power of speech is a central teaching. Words are seen as tools. They can heal or harm, build or break. But more importantly, silence is valued as a practice that nurtures wisdom and self-awareness. By holding back certain words or thoughts, we gain clarity and preserve our energy for things that truly matter. This video isn't just about staying silent for the sake of it. It's about learning what not to say, understanding why it's better left unsaid, and embracing the wisdom that comes from practicing mindful speech. As we move forward, we'll explore ideas that will help you rethink the way you share, listen, and connect in your everyday life. Stay tuned, because what you're about to learn might just change the way you see the power of silence forever. The weight of words. Why silence matters. In our everyday lives, words come easily. They flow from our mouths almost without thought, a stream of sounds and meanings that we use to communicate, express our feelings, or simply fill the silence. But have you ever stopped to think about the impact of those words? Have you considered the weight they carry and how they affect not just others, but yourself as well? The teachings of Buddhism often speak of the power of speech, but they also emphasize the importance of silence. Silence is not the absence of noise, but the presence of clarity. When we are silent, we allow ourselves space to reflect, to listen, and to observe without the distraction of our own voices. It's in this stillness that we can hear the deeper truths of life and connect to our inner wisdom. Let's start by considering something simple. Have you ever found yourself saying something you didn't really mean? Or maybe you've spoken in anger, only to regret your words later. It's easy to fall into the trap of careless speech, especially when we are emotional or rushed. But every word we speak has the power to shape the world around us. Words can uplift, but they can also tear down. They can inspire, but they can also harm. In Buddhism, speech is considered one of the key elements of right conduct. The Buddha taught that there are 3 types of harmful speech: lying, slander, and harsh words. These are words that are intentionally hurtful, misleading, or cruel. But even beyond these clear examples, there is another type of harmful speech: words that we speak without mindfulness or awareness. Words spoken without thought, or words spoken out of habit, can create a ripple effect that we may not even realize. When we speak carelessly, we create karmic consequences, which in Buddhism refers to the actions and their results. If our words are negative or harmful, we are sowing the seeds of negativity, which will eventually come back to us. This doesn't mean we must be perfect in our speech, but it encourages us to be mindful of our words. Are they helpful? Are they kind? Do they contribute to the peace and well-being of ourselves and others, or do they create unnecessary tension and conflict? One of the core teachings of Buddhism is the concept of right speech. This is part of the Noble Eightfold Path, a guide for ethical living. Right speech includes speaking truthfully, speaking in a way that brings harmony, and speaking only when necessary. It's about using words that are beneficial, uplifting, and kind. But it also teaches us that silence can sometimes be the wisest choice. When we don't have something meaningful to say, it's often better to remain silent than to speak out of habit or impulse. The weight of words becomes even more apparent when we consider the impact on our own minds. Have you ever noticed how your mind feels after a heated argument, or a conversation filled with negativity, the mind becomes clouded, agitated, and restless. Words, once spoken, cannot be taken back. They leave an imprint on our consciousness, affecting our mental state long after the conversation ends. Buddhism teaches that the mind is like a garden. What we plant in the garden grows, whether it's flowers or weeds. Similarly, the thoughts and words we nurture in our minds will eventually shape our actions and our experiences. If we are constantly speaking harshly or unkindly, we are planting seeds of negativity in our minds, which will later sprout as frustration, anger, or regret. But when we choose our words carefully, we are cultivating peace, patience, and understanding in our hearts. The act of speaking mindfully is an act of self-discipline. It requires us to slow down and be present in the moment. It requires us to listen before we speak, to consider the consequences of our words, and to ask ourselves whether what we are about to say is truly necessary. When we practice mindfulness in our speech, we create a space for wisdom to emerge, for compassion to guide our words, and for our interactions with others to be more meaningful. But silence, in its own way, can also be a form of mindfulness. In many Buddhist traditions, silence is seen as a way to cultivate inner peace. It's in the silence that we connect to our deeper self, to the wisdom that lies within. Silence allows us to step away from the noise of the world and turn inward. It's a space where we can reflect on our thoughts, our actions, and our intentions. And it's in this stillness that we begin to understand the true nature of things, including the nature of our own minds. In our busy, noisy world, it's easy to forget the value of silence. We're constantly bombarded with information, conversations, and distractions. But silence is not something to fear. It's something to embrace. It doesn't mean shutting ourselves off from the world or avoiding communication altogether. It means recognizing that sometimes saying nothing is the most powerful thing we can do. Buddhism offers us a beautiful perspective on this. In the Buddhist tradition, there is a concept called noble silence, which refers to a type of silence that is free from attachment and ego. It's a silence that comes from a place of inner peace, where words are only spoken when they serve a greater purpose. It's a silence that allows us to be fully present with ourselves and with others, without the need to fill every moment with chatter. In practical terms, this might look like choosing to remain silent in moments of frustration or anger, instead of reacting impulsively. It might mean pausing before we speak, to reflect on whether our words are truly necessary or helpful. It might even mean taking breaks from conversation altogether, to recharge and reconnect with ourselves. The weight of words is something we should all be aware of, but it's also important to recognize the power of silence. Silence isn't empty, it's full of potential. It's a space where we can cultivate clarity, peace, and mindfulness. It's in silence that we find the space to connect with our true selves and to practice compassion towards others. As we move forward in this journey of mindful speech, remember that every word you speak has the power to shape your world. Every word you speak has the potential to bring peace or create conflict, to uplift or to harm. By choosing your words wisely and embracing silence when needed, you create a space for wisdom to flourish and for your life to unfold in a more peaceful, intentional way. Buddhism reminds us that speech is a powerful tool for transformation. By practicing right speech and understanding the weight of our words, we can live more harmoniously, both within ourselves and with others. And through the wisdom of silence, we learn that sometimes the most profound messages are the ones we don't say at all. Secrets that should remain untold. There are things we all carry within us, thoughts, ideas, and feelings that are so personal, so deep, that sharing them could do more harm than good. These secrets are often not meant to be shared with anyone, not because we want to hide them, but because some truths are simply too fragile for the outside world. It is a simple truth. Not every part of our inner world should be exposed to others. In Buddhism, there is a profound understanding of the nature of speech. The Buddha taught that words should be used with great care, for they have the power to shape not just the world around us, but our very own consciousness. It's easy to forget how deeply the words we speak affect our hearts and minds, and how revealing too much of ourselves can leave us vulnerable or distracted. This is why there are some things, our innermost secrets, that should remain locked within us, in a space where only we can fully understand and process them. Imagine a seed that's just been planted. If you expose it too early to the sun and wind, it might dry out or wither. But if you protect it, nurture it in the right environment, it will grow strong and eventually bear fruit. Similarly, there are certain emotions, thoughts, or experiences that need time to mature before we can share them. If we reveal them too soon, we risk losing the chance for them to develop fully. In everyday life, there is often a pressure to reveal everything. We are encouraged to share every detail, every little piece of information. Social media, for example, has made it almost a requirement to expose even our smallest thoughts, feelings, and moments. But this constant sharing, this unrestrained flow of information, can sometimes make us forget the importance of withholding certain things. Not everything needs to be spoken aloud. Not every thought should leave our mind. Buddhism teaches us the importance of mindfulness, the practice of being aware of our thoughts, actions, and speech. When we speak mindlessly, we often end up revealing more than we intend, exposing parts of ourselves that may not be ready to be shared. But when we practice mindfulness, we can control when and how we reveal our truths. We become more deliberate, more intentional with our words, and we begin to understand that there is power in silence. What are these secrets that should remain untold? The first and most important is your inner struggles. We all face difficulties and challenges in life. Moments when we feel lost, hurt, or overwhelmed. It's tempting to share these feelings with others, seeking comfort or validation. But sometimes, these struggles are too deep to be understood by anyone but ourselves. Revealing them to others too soon may cause them to be misunderstood, dismissed, or even used against us. Instead, these moments of struggle should be handled with care, given time to heal in the silence of our own reflection. Another secret that should remain untold is your personal ambitions and plans. It is common to feel excited about a new project, a goal, or a dream. Sharing this excitement with others might seem like a natural response. But have you ever noticed how sharing your ambitions can sometimes drain the energy from them? When you speak of your dreams too soon, you invite the opinions of others into the space where your vision is still forming. These external opinions, whether positive or negative, can influence your confidence and cause doubt. The Buddha understood that speaking too freely about our plans could cause us to lose focus, to lose the clarity we need to achieve our goals. This doesn't mean that we should live in isolation or hide everything from others. But there is wisdom in knowing when to keep certain things to ourselves, when to let them grow in the quiet of our minds and hearts. It's about trusting in our own process and allowing things to unfold naturally. Silence can be a form of protection for our deepest desires, ensuring they stay pure and untarnished by the world around us. In Buddhism, there is a concept called right speech, one of the 8 practices in the Noble Eightfold Path. This concept teaches us that our words should be truthful, harmonious, and meaningful. Sometimes, withholding information is a form of right speech. It's not about being secretive or dishonest, but about recognizing that some things are not yet ripe for sharing. Just as we don't reveal a secret too early, we also don't speak without thinking about the impact our words may have on others. By practicing right speech, we ensure that we speak when the time is right, and that we hold back when our words could cause harm or confusion. There's also a deeper reason why secrets should be kept. Some things are not meant for others to understand, and that's okay. There are aspects of our spiritual journey, our personal growth, that are too sacred to be shared until they have fully blossomed. By keeping some things to ourselves, we allow them to grow without interference. These secrets are like precious seeds, planted deep within us, and they require patience, care, and time to mature. One might ask, but isn't sharing with others a way to find support, to connect with others? And yes, there is truth in that. Sharing our lives with others can be healing and helpful. However, the practice of withholding some secrets is not about isolation. It is about protecting the sanctity of our own inner journey, knowing when it's time to speak and when it's time to remain silent. The Buddha taught that true peace comes from within, and sometimes silence is the pathway to that peace. Moreover, by keeping certain things to ourselves, we learn to cultivate trust within ourselves. When we refrain from sharing everything with the world, we start to trust our own judgment, our own inner wisdom. We learn that we don't need external validation to know what is right for us. This inner trust is the foundation of a peaceful, balanced life. It's also important to understand that silence isn't just the absence of sound. It is a form of communication in itself. By choosing not to speak about certain things, we are communicating something profound to ourselves and to others. We are saying, I trust in my own process, I value this part of myself enough to keep it private, or this moment needs to unfold on its own terms. Silence, in this way, becomes a powerful form of self-expression. As you move forward in your life, consider what secrets you are holding on to. Are there things you are tempted to share with others, but something inside you knows it's not yet time? Are there plans, struggles, or desires that you feel need more time to mature before they can be understood? Trust your intuition. The wisdom of silence will guide you toward what should remain untold. In the end, keeping certain secrets is not about fear or secrecy. It is about respect. Respect for your own journey, your own process, and your own wisdom. By holding back these secrets, you are giving them the space they need to grow, and in turn, you are nurturing your own growth and inner peace. The dangers of speaking ill of others. There is an old Zen saying, the words you speak are like the seeds you plant. What kind of garden are you creating with your words? This question is one we should all ponder deeply. The way we speak about others, whether in their presence or behind their backs, shapes not only our relationships but also our inner peace. In Buddhism, we learn that speaking ill of others, whether through gossip, criticism, or unkind remarks, creates negative energy. It stirs up disharmony and invites suffering, not just for the person you're speaking about but for yourself as well. You might be wondering, why does speaking badly of others matter? After all, everyone does it, right? But here's the thing. Every word we speak carries an energy. The moment you speak ill of someone, you release that energy into the world. It doesn't just disappear, it lingers. The person you're speaking about might not even know what was said, but the energy you put out into the universe affects the space around you. It could lead to misunderstandings, hurt feelings, and even a lack of trust. But it also harms you. In Buddhism, it's taught that our speech should be aligned with compassion and truth. Words that are spoken with anger or ill intent are often driven by our own inner discomfort or frustration. When we speak negatively about someone, we are projecting our own unhappiness. We're not solving anything. We're just passing on the negative energy. By speaking ill of others, we create more suffering, not only for the person we're speaking about but for ourselves as well. Let's take a moment to understand this in everyday life. Imagine you're with a group of friends, and one of them starts to gossip about someone you both know. They criticize the person's actions or talk about their flaws. It might feel tempting to join in, to laugh along, or to add your own thoughts. But the more you participate, the more you're adding to that negative energy. By agreeing or engaging in the conversation, you're unknowingly allowing negativity to take root in your mind and in your relationships. This kind of speech, where we pass judgment or speak unkindly about others, does not help anyone. It doesn't help the person being talked about, and it certainly doesn't help us. In fact, it only adds to the weight of our own emotional burdens. Think about it. When we speak ill of others, we are carrying around resentment or frustration that we haven't resolved within ourselves. This unresolved negativity weighs us down, and over time, it starts to cloud our judgment and rob us of our inner peace. Buddhism teaches that when we speak with harmful intent, we disturb the natural flow of harmony in our minds and in our relationships. The key to breaking this cycle is mindfulness. The next time you feel the urge to speak ill of someone, take a pause. Ask yourself, what is the purpose of this speech? Am I helping, or am I contributing to harm? More often than not, speaking negatively about someone doesn't lead to resolution or growth. It simply feeds our own emotions of frustration, anger, or insecurity. If you think about it, we've all been on the receiving end of harsh words at some point. Maybe someone has spoken negatively about you, or perhaps you've overheard others making critical remarks. How does it feel? It's painful. It hurts our sense of self-worth, and it can damage our relationships. Now, imagine that we cause the same pain for someone else through our own words. What kind of world are we creating if we're constantly using our speech to tear others down? But here's the thing. When we stop speaking ill of others, we start to open up space for more compassion, understanding, and healing. Buddhism emphasizes that speech should be used to uplift, not to harm. Every time we resist the urge to gossip, to speak negatively, or to criticize, we are practicing mindfulness. We are choosing a path of kindness and respect, not only for others but for ourselves. We are actively choosing peace over conflict and love over hatred. Think of the last time you spoke about someone, either in a positive or negative way. Did it make you feel lighter, more at peace? Or did it weigh on you, making you feel uncomfortable or uneasy? If it was negative speech, it's likely that it left behind a trail of discomfort. But if it was positive, filled with kindness or praise, chances are you felt better about yourself and your relationships. In this way, we can begin to understand the power of speech. It is one of the most powerful tools we have to shape our reality. The Buddha taught that we should speak only what is true, helpful, and kind. When we adhere to these principles, our words become instruments of healing rather than harm. We start to create a world where love, respect, and understanding flourish. So, how can we avoid speaking ill of others? One of the key practices in Buddhism is right speech. It's one of the Eightfold Paths, and it encourages us to speak in ways that promote harmony and understanding. This means refraining from gossip, harsh words, and lies. Instead, it invites us to speak in ways that are kind, truthful, and constructive. It reminds us that words can either build or destroy, and it's up to us to choose wisely. When you begin to practice right speech, something beautiful happens. You start to feel lighter, more at ease in your own mind. You no longer carry the burden of judgment, and your relationships start to flourish. You no longer need to feed negativity or seek drama because your speech becomes a source of peace. You begin to notice that when you refrain from speaking ill of others, not only do your relationships improve, but so does your inner peace. One way to practice right speech is to become more aware of the words you use in everyday situations. If you find yourself about to speak negatively about someone, pause for a moment. Ask yourself if your words will contribute positively to the situation. Are you lifting the conversation, or are you just adding to the noise? This practice requires mindfulness, but it also brings great rewards. The more you practice, the more you'll notice how your speech transforms from criticism to compassion. As you continue on this path, you'll notice something important. Your own mind begins to quiet. You no longer feel the need to defend yourself or to prove anything. You no longer have to participate in negative conversations or judgmental gossip. Instead, you begin to feel a deep sense of contentment. You learn to trust in the power of silence, and in that silence, you find peace. In Buddhism, silence is not just about not speaking. It's about using your speech with wisdom. When we practice right speech, we cultivate peace in our own hearts and minds. Then when we speak kindly and truthfully, we are helping to create a world where others can also find peace. Through mindful speech, we can transform our relationships, our communities, and even the world itself. By choosing not to speak ill of others, we free ourselves from the grip of negativity. We stop feeding the cycle of judgment, and we start to cultivate kindness and understanding. So, the next time you feel the urge to criticize or gossip, take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this speech helpful? Is it kind? Is it true? If it's not, then it's better to remain silent. Your silence will speak louder than any harmful words could ever do. Through this practice, we come to understand the true meaning of peace. Peace within ourselves and peace with others. And that peace, nurtured by right speech, can truly change the world. The trap of self-boasting. As humans, there's a natural tendency to want to share our accomplishments, especially when we feel proud of something we've done. We might boast about our success, our achievements, or the progress we've made. In these moments, there's a temptation to tell others just how great we are. But is that always the right path to take? Let's think about it for a moment. When was the last time you shared your accomplishments with someone? Did you feel good about it? Did the other person celebrate with you? Or did you notice a shift in the energy between you two? Sometimes, when we boast, we're not just sharing a victory, but we're also creating distance between ourselves and others. In Buddhism, the concept of ego is central to understanding why boasting can be harmful. The ego is the part of us that craves recognition, that desires to be seen as important. It feeds on praise, admiration, and validation from others. But here's the catch. The more we feed the ego, the stronger it gets, and the further we move away from true inner peace and connection. When we boast, we're placing ourselves above others, even if unintentionally. We create a divide. Instead of fostering genuine connections, boasting often leads to envy, resentment, or discomfort in others. It's not just about what we say, but the energy we project. People can sense when someone is trying to elevate themselves at the expense of others. It might not always be obvious, but the subtle effects are felt. Have you ever had a conversation with someone who continuously talks about their achievements? How did it make you feel? Did you feel inspired? Did you begin to feel disconnected from them? That's the energy of self-boasting. It puts a wall up between people, making it harder to truly connect. In Buddhism, the idea of non-attachment is taught as a path to freedom. When we boast about our successes, we become attached to the idea of being better or more accomplished than others. But in the grand scheme of things, attachment to success only leads to suffering. Why? Because success is fleeting. What happens when we fail or fall short? We then experience disappointment and frustration. But when we let go of the need to boast, we free ourselves from these ups and downs. We remain grounded, content, and humble. Imagine if you could achieve great things without feeling the need to share them with the world. Imagine being able to simply enjoy the success in your heart, knowing that it's enough for you. This is the freedom that comes with humility. When you let go of the need to boast, you create space for deeper connections, for more meaningful interactions, and for a sense of inner peace that can't be shaken by the opinions of others. So, what does it mean to live without boasting? It doesn't mean you can't celebrate your victories, but it means doing so in a way that doesn't elevate you above others. It means acknowledging your accomplishments with gratitude, rather than seeking external validation. Instead of broadcasting your achievements, you allow your actions and your character to speak for themselves. This doesn't mean you should live in silence or hide your light. It simply means that you no longer need to shout to be seen. You trust that your value isn't tied to how many people know about your accomplishments. When you let go of the need to boast, you give others the space to share in your success and to be inspired by your journey, rather than feeling alienated by your words. In Buddhism, there's a powerful teaching known as right speech. Right speech isn't just about what you say, but how you say it. It's about speaking with intention, mindfulness, and compassion. When we boast, we often lose sight of this intention. Our speech becomes self-serving, focused on us, rather than on the collective well-being of those around us. But when we speak with humility, we create an environment where everyone feels valued and heard. The practice of right speech encourages us to speak with kindness and to refrain from harmful speech. Boasting falls into the category of harmful speech because it creates separation and fuels the ego. By embracing humility in our speech, we contribute to a peaceful and harmonious world, where the focus is on collective growth and support, rather than individual glorification. But letting go of boasting doesn't mean you should shrink or diminish your achievements. Instead, it's about recognizing that you don't need to seek validation to feel worthy. You are enough as you are, and your worth is not determined by how much you can prove to others. When you stop boasting, you make room for others to shine too. You allow others to feel comfortable and valued, without feeling the need to compete or measure up. Let's also consider the impact that boasting can have on your own inner peace. When we boast, we often seek constant affirmation and approval. This creates a constant cycle of wanting more, wanting to be seen, and wanting to be admired. It's an exhausting cycle, and it leads to a sense of emptiness because no amount of praise will ever truly satisfy the ego. But when you stop boasting, you break this cycle. You let go of the need for external validation and begin to rely on your own inner sense of worth. Imagine a life where you no longer seek approval from others. A life where you are content with who you are and what you've achieved, simply because you know that you've done your best. In Buddhism, this is the path to true peace and happiness. When you stop seeking praise and recognition, you open yourself up to the present moment and to the simple joys of life. You no longer need to compare yourself to others or prove your worth. You can simply be, and that is enough. When you stop boasting, you also invite others to feel comfortable in their own skin. When you stop boasting, you also invite others to feel comfortable in their own skin. You create an environment of mutual respect where everyone feels valued, no matter their accomplishments. This is the essence of compassion, recognizing that we are all on this journey together, and that no one person's success is more important than another's. In a world that often values individual achievement over collective well-being, this is a revolutionary way of thinking. Ultimately, letting go of self-boasting is about returning to a place of balance and harmony within yourself. It's about realizing that your true worth comes from within, not from the applause of others. By embracing humility, you free yourself from the chains of the ego and create a life that is rich with meaningful connections and inner peace. So, the next time you feel the urge to boast, take a step back. Ask yourself, is this really necessary? Is this truly coming from a place of genuine connection, or am I trying to feed my ego? When you shift your focus from external validation to internal peace, you'll find that the need to boast fades away, leaving behind a quiet confidence that is rooted in humility and self-awareness. In the end, it's not about how loud you speak, but about the quiet strength that comes from living in alignment with your true self. When sharing dreams harms your potential, have you ever shared a dream with someone, feeling excited and full of hope, only to have it met with doubt, skepticism, or even mockery? How did it make you feel? Did it crush your excitement, or spark a sense of self-doubt? Sharing our dreams with others can sometimes lead to unexpected consequences. Though it feels natural to share something so personal, there are times when it can harm the potential of that dream itself. In the world of Buddhism, there's a deep understanding of the importance of intention and energy. When we speak about our dreams too soon or to the wrong people, we often expose them to unnecessary negative energy. This negative energy can manifest in many forms: doubt, disbelief, or even criticism. And while these reactions may not always be intentionally harmful, they can still weigh heavily on our spirits. Buddhism teaches us the importance of protecting our dreams, much like a gardener protecting a fragile seed. When you plant a seed, you don't expose it to the harsh winds or intense sunlight too early. Instead, you nurture it quietly in the right environment until it is strong enough to withstand external forces. Similarly, your dreams need to be protected and nurtured, especially in their early stages, before they are strong enough to withstand criticism or doubt. Why does sharing dreams sometimes harm their potential? The answer lies in the energetic exchange between you and others. When you share a dream with someone who may not believe in it, or worse, someone who is quick to criticize or dismiss it, you invite their doubts and fears into your own mind. This energy can weaken your belief in your dream and may even cause you to doubt your own abilities. Buddhism encourages a practice called right speech, where we are mindful of the words we use and the impact they have. This principle can be extended to the way we share our dreams with others. Instead of speaking about them prematurely or to people who might not be supportive, it's often wiser to keep them to ourselves until we've built up enough confidence and clarity to share them from a place of strength. There's also something powerful about quiet determination. When you focus inwardly on your dream, without constantly seeking validation from others, you give yourself the space to fully develop and understand it. This creates a sense of alignment and inner strength that will be needed when you eventually do share your dream with the world. Sometimes, the process of creation is sacred and requires solitude. Think about an artist working on a painting. In the early stages, the artist might not share their work with others because they don't want the opinions of others to interfere with the creative process. This is the same with your dreams. Before they are fully formed and ready to be shared, it's important to keep them close to your heart and allow them to evolve naturally. When we share our dreams too soon, we might also expose them to the doubts of people who haven't experienced what we've experienced. Not everyone will understand your vision, and that's okay. It's important to remember that your dream is uniquely yours. Just as a flower blooms at its own pace, your dream will take shape and grow in its own time. Patience is key. Buddhism teaches that attachment to outcomes can create suffering. If we become too attached to the approval or validation of others, it can lead to disappointment or frustration. By holding on to your dream quietly, without the need for immediate recognition, you give it the freedom to grow on its own terms. The less you seek external validation, the more power and clarity your dream will have. But it's not just about avoiding negativity from others. There's also a deeper reason why sharing dreams prematurely can harm them. Dreams are often connected to our deepest desires and aspirations. These are the things that truly matter to us, the things that fuel our passion and drive. When we share them too quickly, we expose these vulnerable parts of ourselves, which can be risky. If the response isn't supportive, we may retreat or start second-guessing our path. On the other hand, if we keep our dreams close, we protect that vulnerable part of ourselves and give it the time it needs to grow. As the saying goes, a dream is not something you tell the world about. It's something you show the world when it's ready. One of the greatest gifts you can give to your dream is time. Time allows it to grow naturally, without interference. During this time, focus on developing yourself, learning, growing, and becoming stronger in your beliefs and abilities. The stronger your foundation, the more resilient your dream will be when you eventually share it with the world. There's also an important distinction between sharing your dreams with the wrong people and sharing them with the right people. Not everyone is meant to understand your journey, and that's okay. But there are those who can provide support, encouragement, and wisdom when you're ready to share your dream. These are the people you want to confide in, the ones who believe in you and who will encourage you to keep going. In Buddhism, we often talk about the concept of right relationships, surrounding yourself with people who align with your values and beliefs. When it comes to your dreams, make sure you are sharing them with those who will protect and nurture them, not those who will cause you to doubt or question your path. In the early stages of pursuing a dream, your energy is vulnerable, like a flame that flickers in the wind. Your dream needs to be sheltered and protected until it's strong enough to stand on its own. Don't let the doubts of others blow it out. Remember, your dream is sacred. It's a part of you, and it deserves the same level of respect and care that you give to anything important in your life. Protect it, nurture it, and allow it to unfold in its own time. Only when it's strong enough should you share it with the world. In the end, the lesson here is simple. Not every dream needs to be spoken aloud. Sometimes, silence is the best guardian of our most cherished aspirations. By allowing your dream to grow in silence, you give it the chance to fully blossom into something extraordinary. The cost of gossip on your inner peace. Gossip is one of those things we often overlook in our day-to-day lives. It seems harmless, right? Just a few words shared between friends, a little talk about others, and then you move on. But as we go deeper into the impact of words, we realize something important. Gossip has a hidden cost, and it can affect our peace in ways we don't immediately see. In Buddhist teachings, the mind is often compared to a calm lake. When we speak carelessly or engage in gossip, it's as if we throw a stone into the lake. The ripples of that stone disturb the water, causing the surface to become cloudy. Similarly, gossip disturbs our inner peace, creating ripples of negativity that affect our emotions and mindset. We may not see it at first, but over time, these ripples can cloud our thoughts, turning our once clear minds into a confused and unsettled mess. Gossip isn't just about talking behind someone's back. It's about the energy we put into those words. The act of gossiping is often driven by judgment or the desire to feel superior. When we talk about others in a negative light, we feed into feelings of separation rather than unity. In Buddhism, there's a strong emphasis on cultivating loving kindness, metta, and compassion, karuna. Gossip, however, is rooted in the opposite, ignorance and a lack of understanding. Instead of connecting with others in a meaningful way, we distance ourselves, creating barriers of misunderstanding and hostility. Now, let's think about it. When we gossip, we also carry the weight of those words. The energy we spend discussing someone else's flaws or problems doesn't just affect the person being talked about. It impacts us as well. By engaging in gossip, we tie ourselves to negative energy, and that negativity begins to seep into our own lives. The more we gossip, the more we feed our minds with judgment and criticism, and the more we carry those burdens with us, whether we realize it or not. Think about how you feel after gossiping. You might think it's all in good fun, but does it leave you feeling light and free? Or does it make you feel heavy, restless, or uneasy? That's the inner cost of gossip. It's a drain on our peace. And this doesn't just affect our mental state. It also affects our relationships. Gossip erodes trust. When we speak negatively about others, we lower the trust people have in us. They might wonder, if they're talking about them behind their back, what will they say about me? And this distrust can spread, creating an environment of suspicion and tension. Buddhism teaches us the importance of right speech. This is one of the Noble Eightfold Path teachings, which guides us on how to live a balanced, ethical life. Right speech means speaking truthfully, kindly, and beneficially. Gossip falls far outside of this. It is neither truthful, because it often involves exaggeration or distortion, nor is it kind, because it can hurt others. Most importantly, it is not beneficial because it harms both the speaker and the one being spoken about. When we gossip, we indulge in negativity that is neither helpful nor uplifting. But here's the thing. Gossip is not just a habit. It's a pattern of thinking. We gossip because our minds are often filled with judgment. We judge others, we judge ourselves, and in doing so, we fuel the cycle of negativity. The solution, according to Buddhism, is to develop awareness. By becoming more mindful of our thoughts, we can recognize when we're about to gossip. We can catch ourselves before the words leave our mouth and choose a different path. This requires practice, but over time, it becomes easier to pause and decide to speak in a way that fosters harmony rather than division. One of the most powerful lessons Buddhism offers is the practice of right understanding or right view. This means seeing the world as it truly is, without the distortion of our judgments and preconceived notions. When we understand that gossip doesn't serve us, we begin to see the world differently. We realize that each person is going through their own struggles, and rather than talking about their flaws, we can approach them with compassion and understanding. In addition, Buddhist teachings emphasize the idea of interconnectedness. Every living being is connected in some way, and our words, actions, and thoughts ripple out and affect others. When we gossip, we disrupt that interconnectedness. We separate ourselves from others, creating an us versus them mentality. But when we choose to speak kindly, we create unity. We recognize that we are all part of the same fabric of life, and that the peace we seek begins with the way we treat others. Here's a simple practice that can help you break the cycle of gossip. The next time you catch yourself in the middle of a conversation where gossip is about to start, take a deep breath. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this speech kind? Is it true? Is it necessary? If the answer is no, then choose silence. In that moment, you can redirect the conversation to something positive, helpful, or neutral. Over time, this practice will help you develop a habit of mindful speech, and you'll find that your inner peace grows stronger. Silence, in this case, is golden. Sometimes, saying nothing at all is more powerful than speaking. It's not about holding everything inside or suppressing your feelings. It's about choosing to engage in conversations that nourish your spirit and the spirits of those around you. By doing so, you'll notice that your mind becomes clearer, your relationships become deeper, and your life becomes more peaceful. But there's also another benefit to letting go of gossip. It frees up your energy. When you stop gossiping, you stop wasting your emotional and mental energy on negativity. Instead, you can focus on things that matter: your own personal growth, your relationships, and the things that bring you joy and fulfillment. Gossiping only distracts you from your true path. You might wonder, but what if I'm just venting? What if I need to talk about someone who's hurt me? Venting is different from gossiping. When you talk about your emotions with someone you trust, in a constructive and respectful way, it can be healing. The key is in the intention behind your words. If you're sharing your feelings to understand and release them, that's healthy. But if you're speaking to tear someone down or feel superior, that's when it becomes gossip. In Buddhism, we're encouraged to practice right speech not just in words, but in our thoughts as well. We must be mindful of the stories we tell ourselves about others. When we judge others harshly or assume the worst, we begin to create a narrative of separation. But when we see others through the lens of compassion, we recognize their shared humanity and release the urge to gossip. Ultimately, breaking the habit of gossip is about reclaiming your peace. It's about deciding that you no longer want to be a part of the negative cycles that drain your energy and harm others. It's about understanding that your words have power and that you can use that power for good. By practicing mindfulness, compassion, and right speech, you'll find that the world becomes a more peaceful and harmonious place, both inside and out. So, the next time you feel the urge to gossip, pause and reflect. Remember the ripple effect your words can create. Choose silence or choose speech that uplifts, heals, and brings you closer to your true self. Your peace will thank you for it. Revealing your fears, a double-edged sword. In our world today, we often feel pressured to open up and express our fears, thinking that by doing so, we will feel lighter, more understood. But what if revealing your deepest fears isn't always the healthiest thing for your peace of mind? What if, in certain situations, speaking about your fears actually strengthens them, making them more real and powerful than they need to be? Fear, by its very nature, is an energy that can either grow or diminish based on how we treat it. When we talk about our fears to others, sometimes we do so in an attempt to gain sympathy or validation. But we must be careful. Not all ears are capable of holding our fears in a compassionate, non-judgmental way. In fact, sharing certain fears can lead to reinforcing them. Think of it like planting seeds of worry in someone else's mind, or perhaps even giving the fear a voice that makes it feel more substantial. The teachings of Buddhism offer a different perspective on fear. Rather than sharing it freely, we are taught to observe our fears with mindfulness, to understand their nature, and to not let them define us. Fear is simply a feeling, not a truth. It is impermanent, much like the weather. By speaking about it too much, we create a story around it, and that story, if we're not careful, becomes our reality. Imagine a fear, small and quiet, that suddenly becomes louder each time you speak it aloud. At first, it might seem like a small concern, but as you share it, the fear starts to take up more space in your mind and in your life. This is why Buddhism teaches us the importance of keeping some things to ourselves, especially when it comes to our deepest anxieties. When we hold back on revealing our fears, we allow ourselves to process them quietly within. We allow the wisdom of silence to help us see fear for what it truly is, a passing emotion, not a permanent truth. In this way, we can transform our relationship with fear. Instead of feeling controlled by it, we can observe it, learn from it, and let it pass without needing to give it a voice. Buddha himself spoke about the nature of suffering and fear. He explained that fear arises when we cling to things that are uncertain, like the future, or when we are attached to an idea of how life should be. The more we speak about these fears, the more we attach ourselves to them. But the key is to practice non-attachment, not just to material things, but also to these fears. It's important to understand that sharing fears is not always wrong. Sometimes, speaking about fear with a trusted person can help us process and understand it better. But this should be done carefully, and only with someone who will listen without judgment, who will not feed into the fear but instead offer support in a way that helps us find peace. However, there are times when sharing fear in the wrong context or with the wrong people can cause harm. Fear can easily be magnified by others' reactions. A simple fear about a job interview, for example, could grow uncontrollable if shared with someone who responds with more fear, more worry, or negative reinforcement. It's also worth noting that when we share our fears too openly, we might inadvertently ask others to carry the weight of those fears for us. This is not fair to them, nor is it helpful to us. Our fears are our own responsibility, and part of dealing with them is learning to carry them with mindfulness, not offloading them onto others. The Buddha encouraged his followers to practice right speech, and part of right speech involves knowing when to stay silent about certain things, especially fears. By doing so, we allow ourselves the space to transform those fears from something external into something that we can confront internally without fear of judgment or interference. Another key teaching from Buddhism is the practice of meditation. Through meditation, we learn to sit with our fears, to observe them without becoming overwhelmed. This practice helps us develop a deep understanding of the impermanent nature of fear. As we sit with our anxieties, we notice that they come and go, just like waves in the ocean. We begin to realize that fear, when left unspoken, has less power over us. This is not to say that we should repress our feelings or hide them away. Rather, it's about creating a space for these emotions to be acknowledged, without giving them the power to control our thoughts and actions. Meditation and mindfulness are tools that allow us to experience fear without being consumed by it. One of the greatest challenges we face in modern life is the constant desire to share everything. Social media, for example, encourages us to constantly express our thoughts, feelings, and fears. Yet, in this never-ending stream of sharing, we often lose the wisdom of silence, the wisdom that allows us to process our emotions before expressing them. In the rush to speak, we may not realize the impact our words have on ourselves and others. Sometimes, keeping our fears to ourselves allows us the space to heal and grow. We can deal with them in a way that is more mindful and less reactive. Fear often comes from uncertainty, and by keeping quiet, we give ourselves the chance to explore those uncertainties in a deeper, more thoughtful way. As we work to build a life of mindful speech, we must be aware of the words we use when we talk about fear. Are we speaking in a way that empowers us to face our challenges, or are we simply reinforcing the very thing we fear? Are we sharing our fears in a way that helps us grow, or are we spreading them like seeds that grow into bigger worries? When you feel the urge to share your fear, pause. Take a moment to reflect. Is this fear worth speaking? Will speaking about it help me, or will it only increase the weight of my worry? And if you choose to speak, choose someone who can listen without judgment, someone who can hear your fear and hold space for it without letting it take over. In Buddhism, silence is not just the absence of words, but the presence of mindful awareness. It's the ability to be fully present with ourselves and our emotions without needing to express them all the time. When we stop revealing our fears unnecessarily, we allow ourselves to work through them in silence and with wisdom. By choosing silence over unnecessary speech, we can transform our relationship with fear. Fear no longer controls us. Instead, we observe it, understand it, and let it pass. Through silence, we can transform fear into wisdom, and wisdom leads us to a more peaceful, balanced life. Transforming speech through mindful awareness. In the teachings of Buddhism, words are never treated lightly. Every word you speak carries energy, an energy that has the power to heal, to harm, or to inspire. As we step into this exploration of mindful speech, let us reflect on the immense responsibility we hold when we choose to speak. How often do we speak without thought? How often do we regret the words that escape our lips? Mindful speech is not about silence alone. It is about awareness. It begins with the understanding that words are not random. They come from a place deep within us, a place shaped by our thoughts, emotions, and intentions. To transform the way we speak, we must first transform the way we think. Consider this. Before a word is spoken, it begins as a thought. The thought gains strength when fueled by emotion. When you are angry, for example, your words may become sharp and cutting. When you are joyful, your words may flow with warmth and kindness. Buddhism teaches us to recognize this chain reaction. If you can catch your thoughts before they turn into words, you hold the power to decide, should this be said or not? A simple practice that helps is the 3 gates of speech. Before you say something, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If your words cannot pass through these 3 gates, perhaps they are better left unsaid. Reflect on this for a moment. How many of your daily conversations could benefit from these questions? Imagine the peace and understanding it could bring to your relationships. Mindful speech also requires us to be present. How many times have you been in a conversation while your mind wandered elsewhere? Speaking without presence leads to misunderstandings and shallow connections. True communication happens when you listen deeply and speak with intention. Here's a simple practice to cultivate presence. The next time you are about to speak, pause for 1 breath. Feel that pause. In that brief moment, you create a space to observe your emotions and choose your words wisely. This is the essence of mindfulness. Not reacting impulsively, but responding with care and clarity. Buddhism also emphasizes the importance of silence. Silence is not the absence of speech. It is the foundation of mindful speech. In silence, we learn to listen, not only to others, but also to ourselves. We discover the motivations behind our words, the emotions that drive us, and the impact our speech has on the world around us. Think of silence as a tool for self-awareness. When you feel the urge to speak, take a moment to sit with that feeling. Ask yourself, why do I feel the need to say this? What outcome am I hoping for? Often, you'll find that silence speaks louder than words ever could. Another practice that supports mindful speech is the cultivation of loving kindness, or metta. Before speaking, take a moment to generate feelings of compassion and goodwill. Imagine your words as seeds. What kind of garden do you want to grow? Words spoken with loving kindness have the power to heal wounds, build bridges, and inspire growth. However, mindful speech is not just about what we say. It is also about how we listen. Listening is an act of generosity. When you listen deeply, without judgment or the urge to respond, you create a safe space for others to share. This is one of the greatest gifts you can offer. To listen mindfully, practice what Buddhism calls emptying the cup. Imagine your mind as a cup. If it is already full, with opinions, assumptions, and judgments, there is no room for anything new. When you empty the cup, you approach each conversation with openness and curiosity, ready to truly hear what the other person is saying. Remember, transformation does not happen overnight. Like any skill, mindful speech requires practice. You will make mistakes, and that is okay. Each mistake is an opportunity to learn and grow. When you catch yourself speaking harshly or impulsively, pause and reflect. What triggered this reaction? How can you respond differently next time? A Zen proverb says, "Before you speak, let your words pass through the silence of your heart." This is a beautiful reminder that the heart must guide the tongue. When you speak from a place of love, compassion, and understanding, your words become a source of light in the world. Finally, let us not forget the power of words to inspire and uplift. A kind word at the right moment can change someone's day, or even their life. Your words have the power to create ripples that extend far beyond what you can see. Use them wisely, and let them be a force for good. As you move forward, I encourage you to practice mindful speech in your daily life. Start small. Choose one conversation today where you will be fully present, speak with intention, and listen deeply. Observe how it feels. Notice the difference it makes in your connection with others and with yourself. Transforming speech through mindful awareness is not just about changing the way we communicate. It is about transforming the way we live. It is about bringing more peace, clarity, and compassion into our lives and the lives of those around us. This is the power of mindful speech, and this is the gift of the Buddhist teachings, cultivating a life of purposeful silence. So we have reached the final part of this journey, the closing chapter of our exploration into the power of silence. But remember, the end is only a new beginning. This is where wisdom takes root, where silence becomes a living, breathing part of your life. Let us reflect together, one last time, on the lessons we've gathered and what it means to live a life guided by mindful speech and purposeful silence. In a world that constantly demands noise, whether it's through conversations, social media, or even our own restless thoughts, choosing silence is an act of courage. It's not about retreating or isolating yourself. It's about creating space within. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers, clarity, and the power to transform your relationships with others and yourself. The Buddha taught us that words hold great power. They can heal, but they can also harm. They can unite, but they can just as easily divide. That is why we must use them wisely. Over the course of this journey, we've learned about the things better left unsaid, secrets that we can trust, gossip that sows discord, and fears that only grow stronger when spoken carelessly. We've discovered how silence can protect our dreams, preserve our peace, and deepen our understanding of life. But the real question is this: how will you take what you've learned and apply it to your life? How will you begin to cultivate a life of purposeful silence? Start small. When faced with a choice to speak or to remain silent, pause for just a moment. Ask yourself, will my words bring value? Will they bring kindness? Will they bring peace? If the answer is no, choose silence. Over time, this practice will sharpen your awareness. You'll begin to notice how often we speak without thinking, and you'll learn to replace impulsive speech with intentional silence. You don't have to be perfect in this practice. Even Zen masters, after decades of silence, still find moments where words slip out thoughtlessly. What matters is not perfection, but progress. Each time you hold back a harmful word, each time you choose to listen instead of interrupt, you're taking a step closer to wisdom. Let us also remember that silence doesn't mean the absence of connection. True silence enhances connection. It teaches us to listen deeply, not just to words, but to emotions, to what is unsaid, to the energy that others bring into a room. When you listen with silence in your heart, people feel truly heard, truly understood. Silence is also a gift you give yourself. Think of all the energy we waste trying to explain ourselves, defend ourselves, or prove something to others. When you choose silence, you free yourself from these struggles. You create a space where your mind can rest, where your thoughts can settle like calm water. And in that stillness, something magical happens. You begin to hear your inner voice, not the chatter of your fears or the noise of your doubts, but the quiet wisdom that has always been within you. That is the power of purposeful silence. It helps you rediscover your true self. Now, as we prepare to part ways, let me offer you a simple practice to take with you. Each morning, before you speak your first word, sit in silence for just 2 minutes. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and ask yourself, what do I want my words to create today? Let this intention guide you through the day, and watch how your relationships, your work, and your inner peace begin to shift. Thank you for walking this path with me. Your presence, your willingness to learn, and your commitment to growth are what make this journey worthwhile. Before you go, let me remind you of one last thing. There are so many views on this channel, but only 0.2% of you have subscribed. Why not change that right now? If these insights have touched you, if they've given you even a moment of clarity, please like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. And most importantly, subscribe to Wisdom Woven. Together, let's build a community where wisdom and peace are woven into every aspect of our lives. Silence is not the end. It's the beginning of a deeper connection with the world and yourself. Carry this wisdom forward, and may your words and your silences always bring light. Until we meet again, walk this path with grace and purpose,